Good stuff. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me for another of our Tai Chi special health focus Tai Chi and Qigong classes. And recently we've started to look at a little bit of Chen Style, that's Chen Style silk reeling, as devised by our Grandmaster Chen Style. And I really like silk reeling because it is very good for generally helping the body and mind to relax. It helps us get into a flow of movement, but it's also teaching us the basic principles and movement qualities that are in all Tai Chi, especially Chen style, but actually this will help with all your Tai Chi practice. So let's begin with a right hand in fist, please, and left hand straight, pulling back the thumb with feet together, hands together, and we press forwards. Lovely. So let's relax down. So as always, we want to do a wee warm up. We'll take our feet shoulder width and level. I want you to be very careful about this to get shoulder width. When I look around a class of maybe 15 people, I would say there's at least 4 people in general that have a very narrow stance and believe themselves to be at shoulder width. So it's funny, we have a kind of body dysmorphic thing, a lot of us, that we believe our bodies to be wider or narrower than they actually are. So this is our first little exercise, which is really quite challenging for a lot of people. Myself included, for a long time I didn't quite get it right. So maybe if we break it down a little bit, if you bring your pelvis back and your upper body forwards, think of your body as a plank. This is a plank exercise. And now bring your pelvis forwards and your upper body back. So you're seesawing, but keeping the body straight. Yeah, so if I show you from the side, we're just doing this little seesaw action. And we want the pivot to be in the Dan Dien. So that's in the very center of the belly. So yes, it's a plank, which means we're not wanting to flop or wobble or collapse. But the seesaw pivot is not in the solar plexus, but lower down in the belly. So that's a nice little exercise just to get that feeling of one unit of a plank pivoting from the center. Okay, so our next little preparation exercise is to bring the pelvis back and the upper body forwards, and then to gently just swing from one hip to the other. And so this time think of the seesaw as being a pivot that allows this to happen. You see what I mean? That you're going left and right. Good. It feels a bit funny to do it in isolation, but it's just giving you the idea. So as the hips go right, the upper body goes left. As the hips go left, the upper body goes right. But there's not much movement. It's quite small. We keep that plank. We keep that straight structure. Good. Let's try it now with the pelvis forwards. And we do the same thing. So as the pelvis swings from left to right, the upper body swings from right to left. So we are counterbalancing. Good. So the whole time we are keeping our plank structure. We're not collapsing, we're not bowing, we are keeping that structure. And so now all that's left is to go into the 4 corners of the hips. So you have 2 to the front and 2 to the back, and the head counterbalances. So as the hips are front left, the head is back right, and so on. Good, so we want to keep that structure. Breathe, relax, and flow. Now this should not hurt. If it hurts, that would say to me instantly something isn't quite right. And I know of old, I did lots of little mistakes with this exercise, that I would kind of collapse and roll my upper body, and it wasn't planked. It was quite loose and free. But actually the exercise, as all Tai Chi, we want to keep structure. It doesn't mean we're rigid. There is a flexibility to the structure. It's a bit like bamboo. It's structured, but it's flexible. But even within that flexibility, we want to keep it quite structured in this exercise. Breathe, relax, but don't let everything go out of alignment, shall we say. Good, so I want you to practice with this. Grandmaster Chen, years ago, we're talking like, I think it was about 15 years ago, he said 10 years ago to me there the other day, I don't know. But anyway, he said, look, do all of your warm-up exercises 500 times in each direction. And at the time, I wasn't doing this perfectly, so I felt a bit sick after 200 reps. But then I was letting my head go really, like big circles. He does let his head go very slightly, so there's your flexibility, that little bit of release in the neck. His son doesn't, his son keeps it much more straight. So I was doing it wrong, hence I couldn't do it well for that number of reps. But nowadays in the mornings, I get up and I'm doing about 300 at this stage in each direction comfortably. Let's change direction, please. So it is very much a case of do what you can comfortably, but you'd be surprised how much you can do if you no longer think of it as an obstacle. So if you put on a piece of music that you enjoy and move to the music, you may find that you can do a lot more than you thought you could. But keep it safe, please. Keep it within comfortable limits. It's the same again. We are seesawing and hinging from the dantian point, so quite low down. Keep breathing. And really, it doesn't matter how many you do. What does matter is that you try to make sure that you're doing an even number on both sides. And keep going, please, as I let somebody in. Better late than never. Good. Okay, so just notice how your body is responding. Now, I did this first thing in the morning. As I say, I did my 300 reps in each direction. And at the beginning, because I've got a bit of arthritic stuff going on in my hips, at the beginning my body did not want to know at all. It was clunking and clicking and it just wasn't a happy bunny. But within less than a minute, it was starting to happy up. It was starting to free up, loosen up, and actually behave itself so that I felt like I could exercise comfortably. So sometimes that there is an initial stage of stiffness or discomfort that could easily be enough to put us off altogether and go, oh, not today, this isn't working today. But actually, if you just very gently ease yourself into the movement, within a couple of minutes, your body is telling you a whole different story. So we have to be very mindful of this, especially if we have conditions that vary from day to day and can be quite restrictive, because the temptation is the least little tremor, the least little concern, we just shut it down and stop. And much as that's understandable, I would always give yourself a grace period of a couple of minutes, especially as you're warming up, and just ease yourself in. So I never recommend you blast your body, never just power on through regardless, but try and try and try again. And then if your body is still saying, nope, can't, shan't, won't, then fair enough, you've given it a good go. But unless it is searing, like alarm bells type responses, I would just, as I say, give yourself that little bit of grace period for warm up, where you're easing yourself in and being aware and acknowledging the concerns, but not necessarily just shutting it down. And you'll know as you practice from day to day, you will start to build up an understanding of generally how your body behaves. Though, as I say, sometimes when there's a condition that varies hugely from day to day, then you have to sort of work with that. And that can be confusing. I know that my own body sometimes can be quite changeable. Let's come back to center, please, and just feel into your system and let go. And as you breathe, you may notice that there is a continued feeling of movement. And if that's happening, happy days, well done. That means you have created a vortex of energy that is continuing to flow even once the body has stopped. So you can play with that to your heart's content. Rather than just doing so many and stopping, you can do so many and then gradually make them smaller or slower, bring it to the center and then change direction. And on the second side, again, slow it down, soften it down, bring it back to center. And that may well aid this feeling that though you have stopped moving, your energy is continuing to spiral. And that's what Tai Chi is all about. It's creating vortexes of energy traveling through and around our bodies and not just up and down the meridians. Let's do just a little bit of our second exercise, which is very similar to the first, but quite different in that we want to stay upright. So the last one we had this seesaw forwards and back. This time we want to remain like a chess piece, just this sort of upright being, but we are moving from our center into the four corners of our structure. So we feel into the feet, that will be a good guide, and you can feel the borders of your feet. So you don't want to go beyond the borders. And you don't want to be sticking your bum out or pushing your pelvis forwards much at all. So it is really quite a small movement, an intricate little movement of navigating your center and finding your natural borders. I find this a lot in Tai Chi. You'll find it in silk reeling as well. You will experience natural borders, places where your energy says, that's it, you've got it. You find the place where you're strongest. You find a place where there seems to be a thickness or a magnetic barrier in the air. These places are you interacting with your own meridian system, with your own energetic map of energy running through your body. And when we hit the perfect positions or our best positions at that moment, your energy will interact with you and say, yep, you've got it, that's it. You'll feel a strength in that one position. And if you go even half a centimeter further than that position, you'll lose that feeling altogether. So this isn't something that everybody experiences straight away. Some people have said they've never felt these sensations, but others in their very first lesson, I talk about it. Can you feel that? And they're like, yeah, I can feel it. I can feel it. Maybe it's beginner's luck, who knows? But if you listen to your body and to the subtleties of energy, you'll feel a lot. A lot will be, a lot will interact with you. Let's change direction, please. Again, we want to make sure we're shoulder width. And if this is an issue, say shoulder width is just not possible, fair enough. You could do seated work. These exercises, the first two exercises, you could do a little bit seated in the first exercise. The second exercise, I think, would become more than a mental exercise where you're thinking of feeding into the four hips. So it becomes rather like rolling a marble inside the four corners of your hips. So if you're seated, you won't be able to move your hips. They're stuck to the chair. I've seen folks trying to keep going, please. Just let someone back in. I've seen folks, is she coming in? There we go. I've seen folks trying to move their upper bodies, you know, this is more like Kundalini yoga, this kind of upper body. It's not that. So if you're seated, then visualize and feel into the four corners and you'll get something similar. Very good. Okay, so let's come back to the center. Welcome back. Good. Okay, and easing from your stance. Have a little shake out, a little rolling down the legs and shaking out. A little bit of a circle and the other way. Good. Let's take a little leg stretch. So we're going to kick it out, step it down, keep the feet parallel, back foot as well if you can, and start with the front leg bent. So if I show you from the side, and we're going to send that little pulse down through the leg and then very gently feeding your weight back, continuing to give a little pulse down through the leg and see if you can get a nice stretch in the back of the leg. Go gently, please, especially if you've had replacements, hips or knees. Good. And recover. Up you come and a little shake out. And let's do the same thing on the other side. So we kick it out, we step it down, we bend the front knee, and we encourage a little bit of pressure, just feeding down into the Yongquan, into the center of the foot, and then gently guiding the weight back. It's not really an exercise you want to do on a very full stomach. Just be a bit careful. Good, and up you come. Lovely, well done. And easing from your stance. The more time I spend with Grandmaster Chen, the more time I spend in my own practice on warm-up, because there's just so much benefit to doing these exercises a lot. Even if you're doing other classes afterwards or other activities, doing a good warm-up will set you up for those activities. So, though I want to do more standing, I find myself these mornings doing more of the warm-up exercises in preparation. And at the moment, I'm doing a shorter stand, though I want to build up to doing a longer stand with it as well. But it definitely makes a difference in our Tai Chi practice. You can call all of this deep preparation for your Tai Chi. So this exercise, very gentle. We want to keep the hips steady and turn inside the belly, or think of turning your waist. And again, in a room full of maybe 15 people, and I'm saying keep the hips steady, I'll see at least 5 people whose hips are turning. And so if I'm in face-to-face class, I literally go up behind them and grab them by the hips in a respectful way. I hold their hips steady and say, okay, now turn from your waist. And they go, oh, I didn't realize I was turning my hips. So be fastidious, relax. You're not adding tension to do the movement, you're relaxing, you're letting your hips release, and you're turning in your waist. And if you struggle to do this one, I would recommend doing it on a stool or a chair with no arms, and your hips will be stuck to the chair, so you won't have that issue of the hips turning. And you'll feel how this movement is very much pivoting in the center rather than turning in the hips. And done right, this exercise helps to loosen and release the qua, the pelvic cavity, so that the dantian, or the energy center, can move freely. And that is the principle in Tai Chi. The first principle of Tai Chi is nature. I'm not sure if Grandmaster would approve of me saying the second principle, but I would say an extension of the principle is keep structure, move from center. So all of this warm-up is designed to do exactly that, to teach you to keep your structure and to move from center. And indeed, standing practice then helps you further to keep structure and move from center. So we relax down and just check your alignment. Breathe and calm into your center. Listening behind. Lovely, and close. Good, recover. Well done. So last week we looked at Chansa Gong 1, that's the very first step of Chansa Gong 1, which was single hand. And we started to look a little bit at single hand stepping. So let's continue. Today we'll start with single hand stepping, and then we'll move on to double hands and double hand stepping. So let's come over to one side, please. And we set up with Wuji, so we lengthen up through the top of the head, the chin slightly down and back, and we release and relax down through the body. Calming down. And listen behind. Now let's release through belly, hips and knees. We take your right hand to waist. Bring the left hand extending forwards. Give a little space under the arm so you're not tightly squeezed. Look to the left and step open to the left. Now just a little reminder of the 4 stages of Chansa Gong 1. So we turn, this is movement 3. I don't know why, but we start on movement 3. And feed across into shoulder, elbow, unfold until hand is above foot. That's movement 4. We release and turn the palm, relax it down and feed across. Number 2. Okay, again, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Palm faces out, full twist, and the shoulder blade is relaxed against the ribs. 1, release down. 2, feed across. 3, turn. 4, open. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's do a few more and then we'll begin to step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The energy is at fingertips. Now it returns back up the arm down to waist and from waist into center. Up the back, shoulder, elbow, hands, fingertips, back up the arm, down to waist and back to center. Okay, now let's step. So as we feed across shoulder, elbow, that's the point that we step. It's when the weight has touched the halfway point. Here it is, halfway. Then you can release and step. If you have 49% on one foot, you can't step with the other. It has to touch 50 and then you can start to shift. It's a bit like owning shares. If somebody owns 51%, they have the monopoly. Good. Let's change arms. So as you come halfway across, your weight is halfway between the 2 feet, then you can release the foot to step. Whereas if there was 51% on that foot, you couldn't move it. So you have to be halfway, and then as soon as you've touched halfway, you can step. But in reality, actually, as soon as you start to feed across, you can start thinking about stepping. As soon as the foot is available to step, step. And as long as you're transferring your weight correctly, you'll get it right. Good. Let's change arms again. So my weight, I'll do it with you. Weight is right. Now I can step. Weight is left and stays left. Now halfway, I can step. Weight is right. Halfway, I can step. Weight is left. Halfway, can step. Halfway, in. Halfway, step. So when your foot comes in, the weight does not transfer. It's still where it was. Change. Halfway, step. Shifting, step. Good. Now the reason that we emphasize this halfway business is so that everything arrives together. If you were to wait until the arm had gone across and then step, you would have a lot of stop-starting. Or if you were to step before your arm got there, again, you'd be out of harmony. Let's change arms. So by stepping as soon as you touch the halfway point, by the time the hand arrives, the foot arrives, and everything is in harmony. And if you're good enough, it will feel that there's no starting, no stopping, there's just endless, beautiful movement. Change. Good, and rest. Well done, lovely. So obviously I'm doing this in our sitting room. There isn't a lot of width, but if you had a nice long space, maybe a galley kitchen or a nice long garden, or you were able to go down to the beach and just set your body in motion, you could just keep stepping sideways until you ran out of beach or ran out of puff, and then come back the other way. In fact, Jill, my teacher in Donegal, told me this beautiful story of how she went down to the beach with Grandmaster Chen, and she was working on silk reeling, and he said, okay, show me. And she started walking, she started doing this practice, and he wanted to see a very specific outcome. He wanted to see her doing it very well to the correction that he gave her. And so each time she did the step, he went, nope. And she did it again, he went, nope. And she just kept going. And of course, at that level, when you're training with a master and when he's got beyond just welcoming in the beginner, and you're actually a family student, as Jill is, a toody, as they call them, they don't pull their punches. They're quite happy to tell you that you're rubbish. In fact, one of the Chen masters did tell me I was rubbish one year. He just said that your Tai Chi is, and I don't want to use the word, but it was a strong word. I thought, okay. And he was giving me a kick up the backside, and that's good. Actually, if they swear at you, if they abuse you a little bit, it shows that they're invested in your in your Tai Chi progress, and they're not going to pull their punches. They're going to tell you if you're not doing well, they'll tell you. So it's nice in subsequent years, that same master was actually very encouraging and told me that I had made progress. which is really nice. But you know, one year they could say, yep, great, and another year they could go, smack, you're not doing very well at all. But anyway, there was Jill at the beach, no, okay, no, okay, no. And it was no, 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 no. And there kept being a no. And at one stage, I think she was trying too hard, which is something we've all been known to do. And at one stage, part of her just gave up and just let herself go with the flow of the movement. And then he went, yes. And of course, that's golden when it actually comes, especially if emotionally you've been beaten right and left, being told, nope, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. The yes was so delicious for her, but of course that made her self-conscious and went back to tension, and then the next repetition it was nope. Nope. So don't be put off if you find, oh, I'm not getting this, that's not right, no, I didn't do that right, no, I didn't do that right. That's part of the training, unfortunately, of any martial art, is that we have to go through this conditioning period where we'll know, we have enough knowledge to know that we're not doing it perfectly, but we still have to go through that roughness, gently trying to guide ourselves into doing it better, and allowing that unfolding of development to happen before we start to get to a place where we're going, yeah, I think I'm getting it, I think I'm getting it. And of course then you come to your teacher who will go, nope. You go, ah! But you have to go through these periods, so please stick with it, because anything worth doing is not easy. It's not something that you will instantly attain, but by doing it and repeating, though it may be rough, you will start to develop and the benefits will start to emerge. I'd like to think of training, folks, in Tai Chi as polishing a diamond. And you may never have polished a diamond. Let me tell you, they are tough. Diamonds are one of the hardest natural substances in the world, so they take a lot of polishing, but it's worth it. If you keep polishing, you will have a very shiny diamond. But if you go, no, it's still rough, no, it's still rough, oh, you know, you've thrown the diamond away. So stick at it, you're doing very well. Listen to your body, be aware of any deviations if you can see them, if you can recognize that something isn't right, that means you're progressing, because then you can work on fixing it. Whereas if you're going, yeah, I'm doing brilliantly, unless you've somehow managed to tap into that master quality, you're deluding yourself, and you know, it's practically impossible. Masters take a lifetime to get where they are, so we have to just be humble and start from the beginning and just keep trying. Okay, so we've done our sidestepping a little bit, and I want you to play with it with this video. You can play it again and again to your heart's content, but now I'd like to do a little bit of work with the double hand stepping. Now, if you thought single hand was difficult, you might also find this quite difficult. However, the key to learning in Tai Chi, and I would actually suggest in any physical art, is not to think about it too much, but just immerse yourself in the physicality and give it a go. Because often when we think about it, we get overwhelmed. But if we just do it and see what happens, often the body gets it. The body probably will get it before your brain does. So have a go with me now and see how it goes. And again, through repetition and playing this video again and again, you may notice that actually it starts to click. Okay, so let me show you first what's happening. I'm going to show you a front view, and then I'm going to show you a side view. So we start facing down the room. We want to walk the length of the room with this. Whereas the last one we were going sideways, this one we go forwards. So we lengthen up, we do our Wuji practice, we check posture and relax. We're going to lift one toe and turn out. Now you can turn to 90 degrees, you can turn to 45 degrees, both are viable, it's up to you. So for this version, I'll turn to 45 degrees. Now that means that if we're stepping, we will be stepping diagonally forwards. Whereas if we turn to 90 degrees, that means that when we step, we'll be stepping directly forwards. So if you have a corridor, you turn to 90 degrees. If you have a wide room, you can turn to 45. Okay, so I'm going to turn to 45 and I'm going to sit down, belly, hips, knees. I'm going to bring my arms up in front of me. With the front arm, that's the same arm closest to the front, faces up. The back arm faces down. So we have yin, yang, palms. And we're going to step, if we're at 45 degrees, we're going to step a little wide. So about hip width. Okay, so that's our beginning position. And the front toes, I know they're slightly off screen there, they're pointing forwards. So we have 4 moves. We start by turning towards the back and flip both palms over. We feed the weight forwards and come underneath. You can play with me if you like, yeah. So we finish with one hand, the back hand, fingers touching the center line, the front hand, the palm rotated, thumb under, and it's inside the line of the knee. Now I'll show you it sideways on in a second. We'll keep going. So we turn the body, rolling the hands over and lifting to shoulder height and feeding the weight back, bringing the hands in front of the shoulders. So one hand facing up and the other hand facing out. And then we repeat the whole process. So we turn towards the back, the arms swing down. We feed the weight forwards, the arms come underneath. We turn, the arms roll over and rise, and we feed the weight back, hands in front of shoulders. Try with me, see what happens. So we circle down and feed forwards, turn in your center, roll up and feed back. Now keep your shoulders relaxed, keep breathing. Give a little bit of space under your arms at all times. So don't let your arms hug your body. And remain upright, absolutely upright in your body at all times. Now this is something that I see a lot, and I've been even corrected on it myself, that we think we're upright, but actually as the arms come down, we have a tendency to bow the body down with the arms. Don't do that. Stay upright. So you turn your body, but stay upright. The arms come down. Feed forwards and turn your body. The arms roll up. Good. Relax. Now you can keep going. I'm going to show you this side view. There is a lot going on. I appreciate that. There's this twining happening. So the arms are continuously twisting and untwisting. So as the body turns, the arms actually release. So this position here should actually feel quite comfortable. One palm is facing down and the other palm is facing forwards. But as you feed the weight forwards, the arms go into full twists. So one in front of your belly is fully turned to face up, and the one inside from the hip is fully turned to face out. So the thumb edge under. This is yin-yang palms. Now as we turn the body, the arms release and roll. So again, more comfortable, halfway house, and then feed the weight back. Again, full on twist. So the hands are directly in front of the shoulders, one palm facing up, one palm facing out. And we continue. So we roll down and forwards. Roll up and back. Roll down and forwards. Roll up. Good. Now, just to give you a slightly different perspective, I'm actually going to turn to the 90 degrees. Yeah, so slightly different. But just so that you can see slightly different there. But it's the same principle, it's just the angle has changed. So I'm hoping by changing the angle slightly that will help you. If you're at 90 degrees, actually the front foot is allowed to be slightly turned in. Okay, so can you see from me as you do this that it's really the lower arms that are expressing movement the most? The upper arms, if you were to just isolate the video and just look at my upper arms, you would see they're barely moving. Movement is flowing through them, but the upper arms are barely moving. The shoulders are barely moving. They should be really relaxed. But the movement is originating from center. So you're turning in your belly. It's tiny, but that's your pivot point. But the expression of movement is mostly in your lower arms and your legs moving forwards and back. Good, okay. Now, back to where we were. So now we're going to step, and the stepping is quite easy, really. Most of the stuff going on is in the arms. So we're going to feed the weight forwards, and again, once we get to halfway point, we bring the back foot in. The heels kiss, we keep the weight forwards as the arms roll up, we feed the weight back, and when we're halfway, we release and we step forwards again. We circle down, move forwards and come in, circle up, feed the weight back and step. Circle down, halfway we step in, heels touch, circle up, roll back and step. Good, and rest. Okay, let's do that again. I'm going to do it back view, so I'll do the same as you, and we'll step to the, start at the front of your, start at the back of your space, and we'll walk to the front of the space. So I will talk you through because I'm too close for you to see. So we start with our feet together. We're going to lengthen up. Now I would like to start stepping with the left foot. So see how you get on. Ready? We're going to calm down. Listen behind, lift the right toes and turn out and plop them down at about 45 degrees. Release belly, hips, knees, float the arms up, left palm facing up, right palm facing down, and we step open and forwards. Good. So we turn towards the back, flip the hands over, feed forwards. We'll just do a few with the arms to get started. And turn. Feed the weight back and turn. Feed the weight forwards and turn. Feed the weight back and turn. Keep going. Good. Now we're going to step. So again, when we're halfway, we step in, we stay forwards, roll up, halfway, and step, roll down. Halfway, step in, roll up, halfway, and step, roll down. Halfway, come in, roll up, halfway, and step, roll down. Halfway, come in and rest. Well done. Okay, let's do it on the other side. Okay, so we'll see how we get on. We start with our feet together. Yeah, we'll see how you manage with this. Lengthen up, chin slightly down and back, calming down. Listening behind. We're going to lift the left toes and turn out to face the corner. Release belly, hips and knees, float the arms up. So again, the hand closest to your front will face up to begin. The hand closest to the back will face down, and we want to step directly forwards. sorry, with a wee bit of width, because if we're at 45 degrees, a wee bit of width. Good. So we're going to begin. We turn the palms over. Let's just do the arms to begin. Feed the weight forwards and turn the body, roll the hands over. So now at this stage, both palms are kind of facing out. The right hand is facing a bit more up. The left hand is facing a bit more out. We feed the weight back, and this brings us into our full twist. So the left hand is fully rotated, the thumb edge under, and the right hand is fully rotated, palm facing up. And we release as we turn, the arms sink down, and again feed forwards. And at this stage, the right hand, the front hand, is fully rotated, so the thumb edge is under, and the left hand is fully rotated, so the palm is facing up. We release, roll the hands over, feed the weight back. So an awful lot of this will sort itself out if you just let your body move. Rather than thinking about it, just let it happen. Turn the hands as you turn your body, feed the weight back. Release, turn the hands as the arms sink, and feed forwards. Turn, feed back, turn, feed forwards. Keep going. Now, if you have limited space, if you're trying to practice this in a little handkerchief apartment, you don't actually have to do the walking at all. Though I think it is useful for coordination and just to strengthen your legs, to give variety and to help you learn how you're stepping in Tai Chi. But if you can get the arm movements in your silk railing, and that you're moving from center with good posture, then you've got it. You don't need anything else. Good. Okay, so are we ready? Now we're going to step. So as you feed the weight forwards, when you're halfway, we step in, keep the weight forwards, roll up, halfway and step. Circle down. Halfway and in. Circle up. Halfway and step, circle down. Halfway and in, circle up. Halfway and step, circle down. Halfway and in, and rest. Well done. A little heel tap. Good. Now, if you have seen Chen Style, you've probably seen all this kind of explosive fajin element and thought to yourself, oh, I'm not sure about that. But can you see how in silk railing there's none of that? In fact, you never need to do any fajin. If you're not interested in it, or if it's not appropriate for your health or your particular stage in development, no worries. So actually Chen Style is very approachable for all. It's just that unfortunately people see the fajin and think that that's what Chen Style is, that you have to do that stuff in order to practice it, which you don't at all. In fact, Yang Style, as we talked about last week, Yang Style comes from Chen Style, and Yang really developed his style by taking the Chen, for example, and going, right, well, not everyone can do that, not everyone wants to do that, so he took the principles, he took the action, he took the movement, and just slowed it down. And we don't have to transition into Yang Style in order to do that. We can just slow things down. We can do things mindfully and slowly instead of mindfully and explosively, and we can get exactly the same results. In fact, when I'm teaching Chen Style, I encourage my students to do a couple of 1,000 repetitions in slow motion before they ever consider doing any fajin. Because fajin done too soon, without understanding, it could actually easily injure somebody. And the only way to get the understanding is through the physical process of going through the motions. So you'd be surprised, actually, often your system is perfectly capable of doing the Fajin. You just need, as I say, a few thousand repetitions of the gentle, slow version. And by that stage, you will have built up an in-depth understanding of what the movement is and what Fajin actually is. Fajin, in my opinion, it is very gentle. I'm sorry, I'm on my high horse here, but just listen to me. Hopefully it'll be interesting. I had a hysterectomy about 7 years ago. It's about that. Maybe 10 years ago. I can't remember. It's all a blur. About 10 years ago, maybe. And I thought to myself, right, well, I'd better not be doing any Fajin. And the doctors were saying, now don't be exercising, but you need to keep moving, so keep exercising. I was getting all these conflicting bits of information from the healthcare system. Don't exercise, don't lift a kettle, it's too heavy, don't do this, don't do that. So my way of walking the minefield of this do, don't, I sat and I spun wool on a spinning wheel. So I was pedaling and doing this little movement with my hands for hours on end every day. I was spinning wool, which was very enjoyable and was pumping the blood, but not exercising like this. And the other exercise I did was standing practice. So that was when I was a golden child for standing practice. I was doing it every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. I was doing long stands, well, long for me, maybe 20 minutes at a time. And then I found when I was teaching, I did get back into the teaching quite early on. I got to doing a punch and I thought to myself, now I need to be gentle. Because, you know, I've been told I could rip stitches, I could do something internally damaging to myself. But I thought, you know what, Fajin is gentle. And it is, if you're doing it right, the way I do it, that you relax to center, you get your posture, and you let the ball roll. And only at the very end do you focus. It's an inch punch, basically. You're focusing the energy, but it's not that you're ripping internal structures. It's very gentle. You're still within your 70%, and the little moment at the end is so slight. And I found myself doing better Fajin than I'd ever done before because I was deliberately going gently and softly. But I felt a real desire to let that little focus happen. And I felt really good for it. I'm not saying that anyone who's had major operations should be doing Fajin, probably not. But it was a very useful focus for me to relax, to center, to be gentle, and to focus my impact in that very controlled but abandoned way. But as I say, you never need to do any Fajin at all. So can you see how the silk reeling is really useful for all levels? As long as you have a little bit of stamina, you can do silk reeling. And if you don't have a lot of stamina, you can start to build it by doing silk reeling. So we better finish, folks, with just a little back to our Chinese drum. So Fajin isn't maybe attractive to everyone for whatever reason, and that's, as I say, that's grand. You don't have to do it. It is a, what's that word? It's a specialty of Chen Style, but it shows the martial roots. It's very clearly martial in its nature. However, you can soften it to your heart's content, and in which case I find Chen Style really is, it's like undiluted alcohol, you know, as opposed to the other forms of Tai Chi, which are just as pure Tai Chi, but they are softened and mellowed in order to suit everyone, to suit tastes. Whereas I think with Chen Style, actually, with a little investigation, it benefits everyone. But if it's not your flavor, still learn it a little bit with me, please, and then you'll notice how it informs your other Tai Chi. And that's what Grandmaster does. Sometimes people will come to him who do Wu style, who do Sun style, who do Yang style, and he says, that's okay, do your Tai Chi and I'll help you do your Tai Chi better. So it's the same principle. It's good posture, moving from center, doesn't matter what style. That's the essence of Tai Chi. Good, so let's come back to center, please, and we'll do 100 ailments go away. If it's comfortable to do so, I'd like you to flop your wrists. This is Spring Forest Qigong's version of this exercise. I love it because it has that extra fascia and meridian boost. But if this isn't for you, you can just let your arms dangle and do your little fascia hopping, bouncing. You can do it with the heels not quite touching the floor, or for a wee bit of bone density, you can let your heels actually tap the floor and send that deeper vibration through your bone structure. And rest, please. Take a moment and breathe, feeling into your body. Enjoy that lovely bubbling energy. Let's guide it back into the center. Hug your elbows in. And breathe into your belly. Feel your energy is stronger. Beautiful. Well done, folks. I hope you enjoyed your Chen Style Chen Gong practice. We were still on Chen Style Silk Reeling 1. We've got another one to go, and that's stepping back, and that will then be all of Silk Reeling 1. We're just tasting it, really. You could spend weeks, months, years on each one of these sets, and it'll do you great benefit. But for now, we're just immersing into the experience, and I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep healthy, keep well, keep practicing, and I look forward to seeing you next time.